myfantasysportstalk.com.
Well, hello there. Who are you guys? I feel like I need to introduce myself or reintroduce myself. I'm Brandon Reed. I'm with myfantasysportstalk.com, and this is My Fantasy Podcast. Welcome. I feel like we've been gone for so long because we have been gone for so long, taking a break and a hiatus because our main man, our editor-in-chief, our president, our head honcho, he forces us to call him the man. Well, he is the man, especially after this week. I don't have much room for talking, but he is Dan the Man. Schalk recently got married to the lovely Marissa Caruso, so now they are a partner. They're partners in crime. They're a union. She may even be sitting next to him, making sure she may be giving him the notes for the podcast. I don't know, so it's going to be a different experience. But Dan Schalk is my co-host. Welcome back to the States, man. Well, I guess you never really left the States, but welcome back to the podcast anyway. Glad to see you back, man.
Thank you. It's been a while, obviously. Anytime you take a month vacation, it's not a bad thing. It's just coming back to it is the tough part. But I'm awake, I'm alive, and I'm here to podcast.
And you basically went straight from Hawaii to Verizon, right? No break in between there.
Yeah, it was tough. New York and Hawaii time difference is 6 hours. So when I was working a 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift in New York, it was really like it felt like I was working 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. So it was tough. But I'm kind of getting into the swing of things. Been back for what feels a week now almost. Yeah, we actually arrived a week ago. Today we arrived home. So I'm ready to go.
I bet you are. Got a lot to talk about today, don't you? So we have been gone for a while, and Dan has been off for a little while with the wedding and honeymoon, and it's just been a busy time of year. So we're glad to be back with My Fantasy Podcast and myfantasysportstalk.com, and we really kind of wanted to stop in today and to just kind of touch base with you guys and let you know, hey, keep resubmitting those mailbag questions. That's why we're here. We haven't gone away. We've just been on a little bit of a break, but we're getting ready for the back end of the NFL season. We're halfway through the NFL season now, exactly. So we're ready to get you hyped up and ramped up and make those last minute moves for your fantasy football team and just kind of guide you through the back end of the NFL season. So we're back in full fledged. So whether it be fantasy related or just NFL related, send us your mailbag questions because we're ready and we're here to answer those questions and stir up debate. And we'll do another podcast soon. We'll drop another podcast talking NBA because, Dan, since you've been gone, the NBA season has started. And I don't know if you know, we're about 10 games into that already, too. So look for that podcast coming out soon as well. We'll talk a little NBA next, Dan. How do you feel about that? You been keeping up?
No, I really haven't. Hawaii does that to you. I watched a couple Lakers games, actually, in Hawaii, but that was about it. But I'm more excited about college basketball, and that starts tonight. It already has started if you're watching the basketball podcast, I guess. But I'm pumped up for that. And you and I are going to in Florida in a couple weeks with teams like Villanova, your hometown team, Memphis, Penny Hardaway, and what he's doing there. LSU, Florida State, Oklahoma State, and of course the team that I cover, Canisius, somehow miraculously appeared in this tournament. So I'm looking forward to them make a wave for themselves on a national scale like this. But we'll be down there and we'll be covering it on My Fantasy Sports Talk. So it's something I'm really looking forward to. I'm pretty sure you are as well. So that next podcast, that basketball specific podcast, is going to be one you're going to want to watch.
Can't wait. And also, on top of all that, all that's going on today, specifically Tuesday, November 6th, it's election day as well. But there's more important things to talk about because college basketball kicks off tonight. A couple of huge matchups, but we'll go into all that on the next podcast. So check that out as well if you're going to get your hoops fix for sure. College basketball variety and NBA variety. So, but we want to focus in on the NFL and some fantasy football today. I'm not really in a great mood, Dan, because I didn't really think you'd come at me so hard bragging about this win here. I made you such a lovely anniversary or wedding video, a tribute to you. I got all the guys together, and then you go and treat me like this. First week back, and then boop, 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 slap me upside the head. My 8-0 record is gone, and I didn't expect that from you. I'm a little hurt by that.
I'm surprised. I mean, let's just let the audience know this Brandon Reed that we're getting right now on the podcast isn't the vicious Brandon Reed that we've come to know within the MFST writing community of all the writers on our message boards and things like that. Brandon comes and talks smack all day, all afternoon. That's all Brandon was doing. I'm the best. I have the greatest team. Literally writing out the word period as a period. And you mean business when you do that. So, and now it's this nice guy who took an L from me on Sunday and Monday, and it feels good. No longer undefeated. You can't have a perfect season, and when I beat you later on in a few weeks, it'll be even better.
Well, let me ask you this. Did I start this all today? Did I start this? Did I tag you in a Facebook post?
You started it on Thursday when you started making excuses for why you were going to lose that next week. So
no, it was actually Wednesday. And just like the rest of the season, I have accurately predicted things all year long. I'm top dog in our pick'em piece.
Yeah. You see that week I just put together?
I hadn't seen the numbers yet. I'm not scared. It didn't matter. I'm still top dog.
Lost 2 games.
But anyway, I told you I was going to lose. I told you I was going to lose, Dan. 3 of my 4 running backs are on bye weeks. I was totally crippled by the bye week.
Well, you shouldn't have running backs that are playing on the same team.
Well, if Carlos Hyde wouldn't have got traded, so now I got like 4 guys on the Jacksonville Jaguars, including But anyway, I told you I was going to lose because it wasn't a good week for me. First of all, my guys, Gurley and Tyreek Hill, were due for a letdown. Then I had no other backup running backs. I started LeGarrette Blount because I had no other choices. And I'm not going to spend these acquisitions. I know you want me to, but I'm not going to do that. As an 8-0 team, I don't need to do that. So I'm going to hold on to those acquisitions. So
that's going to come back to bite you.
Never. No, we still got a long way to go. The smartest move I may have made was picking up Malcolm Brown, the backup running back for the Los Angeles Rams. And you guys brought it up today without even me having to bring it up, that if they rest Todd Gurley, well, you know what? I still got Malcolm Brown.
You know what they're actually going to do? I thought about this after our talk, and what they're going to do is they're probably going to just both split time week 16. So you won't be able to play either one, and it's gonna screw you.
I will start both of them.
Good. That's good. I want you to.
I've got some other trades working right now because y'all made me so mad today. I'm proposing some few last minute deals here because I'm one piece away, and you know that.
You see now, at least you're admitting you need something rather than being this perfect team, because you don't. You're not a perfect team, and obviously taking that L showed that to you. So.
No, it didn't. No, I knew all along I was one piece away from being an absolute dominant team, and I'm trying to make that acquisition. We'll see if it happens. But hey, man, I'm just like those Los Angeles Rams. 8-0. Everyone's got to lose, eventually. And I ride with the Rams. I ride with Todd Gurley, and I ride with the Rams defense. And they lost this week just like I did. So I'm not afraid of that. But if you were to judge right now, let's talk some real NFL football though. Are the Rams still not the favorite to win the Super Bowl in your eyes? Or are you gonna pull some Patriots garbage?
Well, Patriots are AFC. I mean, they have that basically under control. I don't think there's a team in the AFC that can really compete with them. Maybe the Chargers.
The Chargers, you're going to sit there and skip over the Chiefs. The Chiefs are clearly the best team in the AFC.
No, I don't. Listen, we see this from the Chiefs every year. They're always 6-1, 7-1.
With Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
Listen, I'm all about Patrick Mahomes. I like him. He was my number 1 quarterback in the draft, and I stood by him when other experts had him down their list. I know I compared him to my main man, Tony Romo. I love Patrick Mahomes, but he's kind of going to be like Tony in the playoffs, and you'll see that. And he's not going to see success in the playoffs right away. He's just not. So the Chiefs. They'll have home field advantage and won't do anything with it.
They have the most dynamic receiver, maybe second most, but I think he's exceeding Antonio Brown and Tyreek Hill. And Kareem Hunt has the play of the year to me in my eyes right now.
Listen, you were the Kareem Hunt hater last year, and
I was surprised. I didn't buy in right away, and you were correct. This year I wouldn't have had him top 5, but I definitely would want him on my team right now. But I'm just talking about play of the year. Did you see the hurdle he did last week into the end zone? Yep. That was play of the year to me.
Yeah.
Play of the year.
Did you know? Yeah, it was good. It was. But it's just what I said. They're in the playoffs. Andy Reid's a different coach. This time, I'm not sold on the Chiefs. It's the Patriots in the AFC in my mind, and yeah, the Rams, maybe the Saints, because I mean the Saints did show that they can beat the Rams, so I'm okay with them. Drew Brees, I think he is what he is. He doesn't age. He's like Brady. I like those veteran quarterbacks with experience in the playoffs. And we saw Jared Goff struggle last year in the postseason, had a great regular season. Maybe he's made that hump. So
you know who I do believe in? I do believe in Sean McVay. That's for damn sure. I definitely believe in the scheme they run and just the dynamic with Cooks and Cooper Kupp and then Gurley coming at you. And Jared Goff makes all the right moves. I mean, whether he's being spoon-fed information or not, he seems to be making all the right moves and does. And I really like that Rams team. And I picked the Saints. If you read our Pick'ems piece, I picked the Saints. But my caveat was I would not be picking them in January over the Rams, just like I will not be picking you to beat me in December for the MFST championship. Yeah. A lot of similarities there.
Maybe. We'll see. I picked the Rams to win this week, and they were one of my 2 losses. So it's tough to you got to give respect to the Saints. If they show they can beat the team, I'm going to believe that possibly if they do meet in the postseason. But, otherwise looking at the NFC, I mean, there's not a whole lot of great teams that really jump at you. The Eagles look mediocre. I think they're going to eventually come back and take that division. You see my Cowboys struggle, and I don't believe in the Redskins. So I think it's probably going to be down to those 2 teams. You can look at the Panthers. I'm not a believer in the Packers or really any NFC North team. The Bears don't have it this year. You keep picking them to win every week.
Only because of the defense, and I believe in Trubisky.
Do you believe in him winning in the if we're talking contenders?
I believe in him growing at a steady pace. I'm not saying he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but I believe in him growing at a steady, nice pace. And I mean, hey, he could be every bit the quarterback Jim McMahon was with a solid defense, maybe down the road. We'll see.
Yeah, but not this year. So I think it's Saints,
not this year. No,
Saints, Rams in the NFC, and whoever wins that slugfest will probably face the Patriots.
So I agree with that. And how much does Golden Tate help the Eagles, or what is exactly wrong with the Eagles right now? What is it exactly?
Their defense isn't playing as phenomenal as they did last year. I mean, they're keeping teams in it. But the offense as well. I think Carson Wentz is still shaking off some rust. And not that he's not playing, that he's playing hesitantly, but it seems a little standoffish. Now, the last game that I saw them play, they were on a bye this last week, I believe. But Wentz was starting to get his flow back a little bit. So I think that offense. And they're going to end up being the champions of the East. But will they be able to put the miraculous postseason together again like they did last year? I'm not so sure.
So let me talk about the AFC real quick, Dan. And 2 quick points I want to mention there, I guess, is that you may have beat me in fantasy football, but ultimately, you know where I'm going to, don't you?
No.
Okay.
No, actually, I think I do now.
We'll get there. Let's talk about it. So ultimately, you may have beat me in fantasy football, but again, I predicted things correctly when I told you your Dallas Cowboys would have a rough year this year, and they lost last night to the Tennessee Titans. So I don't know. Maybe you got the fantasy win, meaningless fantasy win. I'm not worried about that fantasy win in Week 9 when I had 4 new players on my team. Not worried about that at all. I'll see you maybe in the championship. But my Tennessee Titans, I told you all year long with that dynamic offense, would beat your Dallas Cowboys. So, but seriously, I can't figure out either one of these two teams, although I know neither one of them are very good at all. But it just so happened last night in Big D, the Tennessee Titans and Marcus Mariota did what they wanted to do on your Dallas Cowboys and their defense, minus Sean Lee again.
Yeah, I mean, I would give you some props if you picked them in the pick'em piece.
No, I'll never.
But you didn't. So, yeah, it was ugly. I mean, I actually. And I don't do this. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan. I watch every minute. I shut off the game with 4 minutes to go. And that was like, Marissa looked at me and was like, "What are you doing?" Like, I couldn't watch it. It was a terrible performance, specifically the offense. I mean, the defense, they kept allowing these third down conversions all night.
That's the most points Tennessee has put up all year. I don't know if you knew that, but that's the most points Tennessee has put up all year and probably will put up all year, 28.
Yeah, it's tough because I mean the defense is specifically early. I mean they recovered 2 Mariota fumbles. They sacked him at least 5 times, so they were putting pressure on him. But Mariota looked like a franchise guy again in that game. Now a very limited sample size. It was 1 game, but he looked like the Mariota that we all I think thought he would be. But it came down to the offense. If the Cowboys offense did anything, I believe the Cowboys would have won. I mean, they could have easily put up just as many points, or it could have just changed the game if they could have ran the ball effectively. If Dak Prescott could look like a quarterback, that would be great. It was just bad. The one interception that he threw in the end zone, the red zone, that was in the end zone to Amari Cooper, who was double covered. He forced it into him, but the next wide receiver to the right of Cooper was wide open as he was doing a post corner route. And he was wide open, and Dak was just set on getting Amari Cooper the ball. And that's not what this offense is about by acquiring Cooper. But bottom line is falls on Prescott, and I don't believe he's going to ever get the Cowboys where I, as a fan, want them to be. That's winning games.
And so it's making it hard on Ezekiel Elliott too. It's eventually going to catch up to Ezekiel Elliott, and that's why I shied away from him in fantasy, because I knew that was going to catch up to them eventually. You can't just run him into the ground. Teams are going to start stacking the boxes. I think the play card is out on Dak Prescott, and so you guys have a decision to make. Is that something you do next? Just let me ask you about the Cowboys franchise in general. It's America's team, right? So, what about Jerry Jones and his, just controlling every aspect, dictatorship, so to speak, and controlling every aspect of it. How much can he let go? How much do you trust Steven? How much do you trust Jason Garrett? Is it time to move on from Dak Prescott? Is that becoming obvious? Or are they going to stick with him and try to build the best team they can around Dak Prescott?
Honestly, it's tough. Like, I grew up as the Cowboys fan in the early 90s when they were winning with Jerry and Jimmy. And then it obviously progressed. And during the most meaningful years, of my life, Tony Romo and took over and kind of led this team for the last decade of my, really watching the game of football. Of my life, Tony Romo, and so it's took over and it's difficult to watch Jerry continue with this franchise. I've always said he's been the best owner, and I wouldn't want anybody else. But the comments he made today, and I don't know if you heard them or saw them, but it just scares me as a Cowboys fan for our long-term future. He basically guaranteed that he's going to lock up Dak Prescott to an extension, and I think that's terrible. And I don't see Dak as a franchise guy, a guy that can lead us to a Super Bowl championship. And ultimately, what I think will happen is Garrett will get let go in the offseason. He needs to. His time has just been stagnant. It's kind
So
of
you don't think he's the golden boy? You don't think he's getting that Marvin Lewis kind of leash?
he can't. He kind of already has. He's one of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL right now.
What is it, 8-9 years, or is it more than that?
8.5 years. I think it's 8 full seasons, and he took over halfway for Wade Phillips for 8 games. So, but his record is basically 500. Never reached an NFC Championship game, and they've had byes in the first round 2 or 3 times during his tenure. So it's tough. It's difficult to see, but I don't think he's the man. I mean, at least Scott Linehan has to go because his offensive scheme doesn't fit what the Cowboys do. The offensive line isn't what it used to. Tyron Smith, you can easily tell that his back is like broken, and he doesn't have that elite left tackle ability anymore, but it also falls on the rookie Connor Williams, who looks like a rookie. So the offensive line, their bread and butter, what led them to success, isn't there to open holes for Zeke, and Zeke's not looking elite. I mean, he flashed some plays last night that looked decent, but it wasn't anything spectacular, and the whole offense looks terrible, and I think they're probably going to clean coaching staff in the offseason would be my guess if they continue to lose. I'm predicting a 7-9 season would do that, 7-9 or less. But if they go 8-8 or 9-7 again, who knows? Maybe Jason Garrett will last another year at least. But I think they need to clean house.
Well, and I don't see it happening. I don't see him canceling out Garrett quite yet. Now, here's the thing. So what are they? They're 3-5 right now. So you got trips at Philadelphia, at Atlanta, and then home versus Washington, and then at the Saints, and then versus Philadelphia again.
Yeah. So just look at that schedule. The next 5. How many wins do you have them there? Maybe
home versus Washington.
Yep. Thanksgiving Day. But other than that, it's hard for me to say that they're going to beat the Eagles.
4-9 at the best, 5-8 at the best.
So,
and you do finish out with the Colts, Bucks, and Giants. Hey, that's the good news. You should win all of those games, honestly.
Yeah, but it's this next stretch of 4 or 5 games that is basically going to be the Cowboys season and maybe Jason Garrett's job.
I'm looking at the team leaders for the Cowboys right now. Do you realize that the leader in receptions is Cole Beasley, like I told you about 3 months ago, with only 36 and 2 touchdowns?
Yeah. Yep.
336 yards. 2 years ago, Dez would have had that in 3 games.
Yeah, and I think that tells you the quarterback position and how Dak, there are Dak believers that blame it on the offensive line and blame it on the offensive scheme. But, you would at least be able to look competent. I said it to Cowboys fans that reached out when the Amari Cooper trade happened, and they said, is he going to help? And I said he can only help if he can catch with his feet or jump 26 feet in the air to catch footballs. Because if Dak can't put it accurately or properly predict and see the defense in front of him, it's not going to happen. So, man.
So we're also 8 games in for the Cowboys, and Ezekiel Elliott only has 3 touchdowns on the year.
Yeah, well, he is doing, I guess, technically well in yards, but he probably leads the NFL in carries by a lot. And I really have no idea, but they give him the ball a lot. That's why he was second in the NFL in rushing going into the game yesterday. I don't know what it is now, but his yards per carry average can't be very good, and he probably gets more carries in the NFL than any other back.
So I wanted to talk about AFC. We kind of got sidetracked with Cowboys talk, but I wanted to bounce back to the AFC because the Tennessee Titans beating Dallas those two franchises are kind of about the same pace to me. Because if you ask me, I think Tennessee needs some help too. And I'm still not sold on Mariota. He has these games like he had with Philadelphia and then he had last night, but I just don't think he's the guy. I just don't. I think you need to keep your options open. But anyway, Tennessee is sitting in second in that AFC South. But what I wanted to talk to you about is that we talked about Philadelphia struggling. The second biggest surprise to me is the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I would have predicted to be in the Super Bowl this year if they could have just bounced back and at least had a relatively close or similar year to they had last year with a little bit of progression. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they are 3-5 right now. So where do you think they're going to sort this out and eventually end up winning that AFC South, which really is up for grabs, I guess? Houston is the top dog right now at 6-3, but is Houston really the best team in that division?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Texans are going to run away with it, actually. I'm not a believer in the Jaguars at all, just the way they look. Not only offensively, Blake Bortles looks like he's actually taken a step back, from the mediocre season that he had last year that, was propelled by their defense. And that's why I'm not a believer in the Jaguars because their defenses look terrible. Trading Dante Fowler obviously doesn't help immediately. Maybe in the future it will with the draft pick that they got. But the secondary has been rough. They've been shredded by teams. They made Dak Prescott look good when the Cowboys blew them out. And it was an atrocious game if you're a Jaguars fan. But yeah, I'm not a believer in them at all because that defense can't play. I don't know if, Doug Marrone has lost the locker room. I don't know if you heard about the partying and the arrests Sunday morning before the London game, which was played at 3:30 a.m. Hawaii time. Not fun to get up and watch that.
You probably didn't.
No, actually I didn't. But I did set an alarm when the Chargers played in Hawaii. Little side note, because I don't know, maybe the Chargers were playing the Jaguars that day, but I don't know. They played in London when I was in Hawaii, and I set an alarm for 3 a.m. to take Melvin Gordon out of the lineup if he was hurt. And he was hurt, and he missed that game. But I was a good fantasy owner and swapped him out at 3 a.m. Hawaii time.
Well, that's dedication. Hope you got the win that week.
There you go. I think I lost.
It wasn't really worth it then. Huh?
Yeah. But anyways, Jaguars not going anywhere.
Well, and Houston started the year 0-3 and have won 6 in a row.
Yeah, Deshaun, your quarterback looks good finally.
Not so much fantasy-wise. He's up and down. Yeah, he's okay. He's no Drew Brees, but he's okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, topsy-turvy NFL season. But anyway, so the top dogs right now are the Kansas City Chiefs at 8-1. And of course, now the Los Angeles Rams are 8-1 as well. So,
new breed 8-1.
Yeah, so I told you I'm following the Rams' path here. I still think they're Super Bowl favorites. I still think they're the best team. Saints are 7-1, looking really good. But if my money was to be placed on a wager in January, I'm not picking the Saints, especially because I believe it's going to play out to where it's going to be in Los Angeles, and I'm not going to pick. Drew Brees to do this again over Los Angeles in Los Angeles.
Good weather. Good weather, at least.
It will be, but it ain't indoors. That seems to be Drew Brees' comfort zone. But it's so much to play out and injuries to play out too. Everything really kind of hinges on injuries back and forth. So, so what's up with our fantasy here? So this is what I got to send a kind of a message to the rest of the league, Dan, is because
complaint.
No, give me a second. Okay. Yeah, we talk trash back and forth, but I'm looking at the projected playoff bracket right now, and me and you, buddy, we're still projected to be in another championship game of a myfantasysportstalk.com league. So my message is to the other guys, what the hell y'all doing? Okay. Yeah. What the hell y'all doing? Because me and Dan are just racking up. We just played in a freaking baseball championship. I didn't watch 2 outs of baseball this whole freaking year. And me and Dan just played in a baseball championship. I just can't get into it, man. I watched a second of that long World Series game because when I got home at 1:00 in the morning that Friday night, it was still going on, and I fell asleep on it at 2:00 in the morning. I'm just out, man. First commercial break. I can't do it, man. I'm not a big baseball guy anymore. I'm just not. But anyway, what's up with the rest of you guys? Casey, Thomas Take, Dylan, all you guys talking trash and want to come at me, but I'm just saying it's still looking like me and Dan in the championship game. So y'all guys need to step up your game, whether I win or lose. I'm confident I'm going to win. I think I got the best team, but it's still the projected playoff bracket has me and Dan meeting in another championship game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why, as the listeners, when you send in your mailbag questions and it's Brandon and I answering them, it's pretty good advice. So it's every year, and we talk smack back and forth, but there's a respect there. As when I beat you, which has happened 3 times to only 1 loss, there's respect that you're getting beat by the best. So. Again, it's only happened once to me, so I don't know the full feeling of it. But you do know that I'm beating or losing against the best, and the other guys, especially our man Thomas Take, who talks all this smack about being the fantasy football champion, and he hasn't showed up in the MFST league ever.
I don't know what he thought this year, but his team never had a chance, trades or not.
Yeah, I mean, he made a nice deal. Props to him on getting Alvin Kamara in our league.
Think it was a wash. I mean,
it's not going to help. They got Dalvin Cook, I think, too, but Dalvin's
they flip-flopped.
So
they were 2 mediocre teams that flip-flopped players. Who cares?
Yeah, that's true. One and doneers, not even make-iters. Yeah.
But we have, if my memory serves me correctly, neither you or I have lost a fantasy championship period to another MFST member. If we've lost, it's been to outsiders.
Yeah, and I think our only competition this year is really that Baltimore Bullies. That's Thomas Samuel Ball, a listener of the show and reader of the site. So
strong team. I beat him. You lost to him.
We made fun of him in the beginning of the year on his team, and he pulled out some great picks. I know you just said I lost to him. I just ignored that.
It's a solid team. Hey, I remember that game very well. I barely beat him. If Tyreek Hill wouldn't have got a last-second long Hail Mary touchdown, then he would have beat me too. But hey, that's why I'm a dangerous team. I got explosive weapons like that. So, but yeah, it may happen again. I think you're right. I think that may be the only competition. DDT is trying to hang in there, and the Purtons are trying to hang in there too, but I don't see it happening. I believe I play the Purtons this week, and you are about to knock Thomas Take out of playoff contention.
It's almost going to be as sweet as beating you. It really is. I'm looking forward to this week's matchup against Thomas Take and all the trade acquisitions he made just being on bye. That's going to be great. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to this week too because the Purtons talk much trash. Nick, where are you at? Submit your mailbag questions as you head up this week.
Get to it.
We'll see what happens. So
Purtons have been dry.
Yeah. Yep. No talk at all. So let's get it re-energized. Let's see what's going on. If you beat me this week, Nick, you're right back in it. You'd be 6-4 while I would drop to 8-2. So. And 6 teams make the playoffs, 2 buys and then 4 other guys, which the buys right now go to me and Dan. So submit your mailbag questions. Let's get right back into that. Pick up this podcast thing from where we left off about a month ago. It's heavy fantasy football. We need your help. Submit all the mailbag questions. Let's talk about that. Let's work through it the back half of this NFL season, the back half of this fantasy season, because like I said, our fantasy season only has 4 weeks left, then we start the playoffs. So let's get into that. So keep submitting the questions. Fantasy football, NFL, we don't care. We're ready to get back into it. Hey, Dan, I noticed something while we're talking here. Didn't really mention it, but I noticed some bling on the ring there. So that's different.
It's there. Oh, felt weird, but now I'm getting used to it. I'm losing I don't know if you have finger hair on your finger there. I do, but I'm losing it.
And I got hair everywhere but where I really need it the most. A lot of hair everywhere but where I need it the most. So, all right, submit the questions. Dan, glad you're back. We're going to keep doing this thing hardcore now. So, any last word? What's going on the site right now, though, period? A lot of entertainment stuff I've noticed. The fall show season is kicked off, so the entertainment section is blowing up, too, right now.
Yeah. I mean, Kira McCall, Samantha Wynn, doing a great job as entertainment editors and producers. I mean, they're producing content nonstop on all the shows. And another shout out to one of our entertainment writers, Mickey Small, who got contacted by a newspaper of in Brazil or somewhere, wanting to do a piece on her, and they found her by her works on the site. So I know she's excited about that, and that was great hearing that news. I don't know if I had all those details right, but somewhere wanted to contact her and interview her for it. So that's good work there. And then, yeah, I mean, my fantasy rankings are back in action in college basketball now that that's back. I'm going to be covering that all over it already. So look at the site and you'll see college basketball on there.
You definitely will. And you're definitely going to hear about it more on the next My Fantasy podcast. So check that out. So we're going to talk about our opening night of college basketball and what's going on in the NBA on the next My Fantasy podcast. So thanks a lot for joining us again, guys. Missed you guys. Welcome back. Keep submitting the questions for Dan Schalk. I am Brandon Reed. Until next time. Later. Peace.